Let's review all the information we learned in Activity 1. In the Activity 1 lab, we had a ramp, and that ramp was connected to wooden blocks, and we could change the height of that ramp by adding more blocks. We rolled a golf ball down that ramp, and we wanted to know how far that cup would move once the golf ball hit it if we were changing the height of our ramp. So we wanted to find out how the release height would influence how far that cup traveled. What we found out was that as we increased our ramp height, the golf ball, when it rolled down the ramp, had a much faster speed. The higher the release height of the golf ball, the faster the speed of the ball was at the bottom of the ramp. We also found out that when that golf ball hit the back of the cup, because it had a higher release height and a faster speed, the cup traveled much further. If we were to graph our results, we would see that as we increase the number of blocks, the distance traveled by the cup increased as well. Conservation of energy states that energy cannot be created and it cannot be destroyed. The energy has to come from somewhere and it has to go somewhere. In our lab, the energy started with us. As we're raising that golf ball to the top of the ramp, we're using chemical energy that's found in our muscles to transform into gravitational potential energy when we place that golf ball on top of the ramp. And remember, an energy transformation is when one type of energy is changing into a different type. So in this case, the chemical energy was changing into GPE. When the golf ball rests on the highest ramp height of 5 blocks, that's when the golf ball has the most gravitational potential energy, because we know that the higher the height, the more GPE that object will have. And as we increase that ramp height, the GPE transforms into KE when the ball starts to roll down the ramp. When that golf ball hits the bottom of the ramp, that's when it has the most kinetic energy, because we know that the more speed an object has, the more kinetic energy it has. As that golf ball's rolling across the table, it hits the back of the cup. And when the golf ball and the cup collide, some of the kinetic energy transfers from the golf ball to the cup. And remember, a transfer is when the same type of energy moves from one place to another. The golf ball and the cup are going to move across the table. And as that cup and golf ball is sliding across the table, that kinetic energy that the golf ball and the cup have are actually going to transfer into the particles that make up the table. So the particles of the table now have kinetic energy. Simultaneously, as the cup is sliding across the table, there's friction between the table, the cup, and the golf ball because they're all touching. And because those particles gained kinetic energy, they're going to start to move faster and get a little bit crazy. So they're actually going to collide as well. So there's friction not only between the table, the cup, and the ball, but the particles that make up the table as well. And that kinetic energy, because of friction, is going to transform into heat energy. We also found out that the mass of an object plays a role in how much GPE and KE an object has. So the solid golf ball, when we released it from a ramp height of 5 blocks, traveled a much further distance than the hollow golf ball released from the same height. The cup did not travel as far. So what that told us is that the solid golf ball, because it's made out of more particles, is going to have more mass. And because the solid golf ball has more mass, it's going to have more GPE, even at the same height. So a release height of 5 blocks, the solid golf ball has more GPE than if we were to place that hollow golf ball on the same 5 blocks. Because it has more GPE, the solid golf ball is going to have more kinetic energy, even if they're going the same speed. So two objects at the same speed, the one that's more massive is going to have more kinetic energy, which also means that the solid golf ball is going to create more friction because it has more mass, which in turn is going to transform into more heat energy within that table. And finally, we found out that the factors that influence kinetic energy are both speed and mass, and the factors that influence gravitational potential energy are height and mass.